All right, here's the story from thedailymail.com. Loaded liberals are paying millions for golden visas to other countries because they're scared of a Trump-led civil war in 2024. I said civil war. What that means. Wealthy wokes planned their escape, but why didn't they go in 2016? Now, I will say right off the bat, I'm a bit skeptical, but also kind of not. Like, part of me wants to think it's an exaggeration, but part of me kind of believes it. We already saw the story about these billionaires who are trying to build bunkers and resorts in New Zealand and stuff. And that story's been like going on for a long time. You had the CEO from Reddit, who's also one of these woke, wealthy liberals, talking about survival, prepping, and getting food because they saw something coming. Daily Mail says, the wealthy wokes are spending huge sums to bag visas that allow them to escape to countries like Austria, Turkey, Jordan, and the Caribbean, according to attorneys running the process. Consultants say they've seen a massive spike in interest for citizenship for second countries all over the countries over the last few years. Many Americans told them they are petrified by the thought of another Trump administration, while others cited the Roe v. Wade ruling in the 2008 crash. You know what I love about that? If you want to leave the United States because you're worried about abortions, go to Jordan or Turkey. See how that works out for you.
If you want to leave America because you're worried about authoritarianism, is Turkey, right, the best runner-up?
Is Canada?
Yeah.
This is the craziest thing I see with this. And people are like, I'm going to move to Canada. It's like, okay, well, like they were arresting people trying to leave their homes. They called truck drivers fascists and extremists. I mean, we got similar issues going on here in the U.S., but I don't think going to Jordan.
No.
You know,
I don't think. I was just going to say, I think that it's greatly exaggerated. And I think that we have to understand that historically, a lot of billionaires and even multimillionaires look for areas to park money that has the best taxation clauses. I mean, that's why you have countries in the Caribbean, like Bermuda, things like this, has a 2% tax treaty with America. So they park their cash off there. You have the UAE and Dubai, who has a DMZ, which is a tax-free hub, and things like this. I don't think it has anything to do. I think they're trying to utilize this as an excuse. I think the real reason they're doing is that they're looking at the increased inflation, taxation, and what's going on in America, and the fact that the dollar is not going as far.
They probably saw 87,000 new IRS agents and said,
exactly.
Maybe I should be a citizen. It's Trump's fault.
Yeah. I also love like rich liberals that, took a private helicopter from Amman to Petra and they're like, Jordan is paradise. I live in Jordan. It's like, well, yeah, that's great. It's like, you got your tour of the Hagia Sophia and you're like, I could live in Istanbul. Sure, you could.
But I will just caution and remind everyone that during President Trump's time in office, you actually had more billionaires and multimillionaires moving their cash back onshore to America, and you had businesses returning to America. So I think that this great exaggeration that they're fleeing because they're worried about another Trump administration, which I'm certainly hoping for one, I think it's completely far-fetched, and they're running away from the realities because that doesn't add up to what actually happened from 16 to 20.
Peter Navarro was on the show, and he was saying, well, at least give me that we had the best economy of our lives or whatever. And I said, no, I think that the balloon was about to burst because of our 24 trillion deficit or debt. And he was like, but at the same time, what he did do well is they were bringing business back, and it seemed like it's been a while since there was a resurgence of American industry. And they
exactly
were doing their
talking
part.
About. Right. Yeah. I mean, right now we've got a GDP to national debt ratio of about 131%. So you're talking about an insolvency as a business owner. That means you don't qualify for a loan. That means that you're spending 31% over what your incoming revenue is. So, at this stage, the only thing that props up America is the fact that we have the U.S. dollar as being a global currency, which is exactly what China, Russia, and Iran is trying to eliminate, is the U.S. dollar from being the global currency. That's the whole point of their kind of geopolitical alignment.
They've been doing that for a long time, too.
But now they're almost close when you talk about the fact that, one, they're already expanding the Eurasian border. They take over Africa, Oceania, create the maritime Silk Route, cut off supply chain to the Western Hemisphere, because we're getting drugged into these endless wars like we're seeing in Ukraine, when the reality is that this is about economic resource warfare. This isn't about kinetics any longer.
You know what's weird about this article, if I could just say, if I'm the Democrat advisor to the Biden campaign world, if your wealthy liberals are already banking on a Trump win, you have to be nervous about your campaign strategy, right? Like if they're already planning to leave, then they don't think he's going to win.
Perhaps. I think a lot of it's probably that they're saying, okay, it looks like Trump is going to win, so I'm going to hedge my bets.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest too. In the source article, which comes from the Daily Beast, they mention, for years, David Lesperance, an immigration attorney who helps wealthy Americans obtain second citizenships, saw a similar type of client. Millionaire MAGA heads, Silicon Valley libertarians, new money crypto investors, basically rich guys who wanted out of the U.S. tax system. But in recent months, he's seen an increase in a surprising clientele. moneyed liberals who are terrified about the political future of the country and want an escape plan. I think after everything we've seen, I mean, look, they're talking about rolling blackouts in California. Perhaps they should have managed their energy production better. But these people, here's what I think, as an aside. They campaign on climate change and then have no choice but to follow through with cutting off their own electrical grid to appease their own voters, and they're spinning themselves into oblivion. Now California is in serious trouble. They couldn't build enough generation to maintain their own state, despite the fact they've been screaming about it endlessly. Now you have people who are suffering their own problems, leaving places like California and going to Arizona or Texas and bringing their problems or their voting patterns with them. But then you have the wealthy who are looking at all the problems they created, all of the cheering on of the going after Trump, defense of Hunter and Joe Biden and their illicit business dealings. There's going to be accountability. We saw this in early 2020 or mid 2020 when the Boston Globe reported on war games that were being held by Democrats and neocon establishment Republicans. And on the Democrat side, in the war game, they suggested the West Coast secede from the Union if Trump were to win. That's where they were in 2020, at least according to the Boston Globe. When I hear that they're fleeing now because they're scared about Trump, I say yes. And for the moneyed liberals, I don't think it's because they have Trump derangement syndrome. I think it's because these are the people who know that they've been doing naughty things and they're going to get caught when Donald Trump or Republicans, and it's not just any Republican, it's got to be Republicans who actually take action, actually file subpoenas.
No, I think Larry Hogan will go after these guys too. I can't finish the comment without laughing. Sorry, I apologize.
Well, I'll tell you though, I do think that there's a part of that, but I also think that you're starting to see a lot more currency hedging as well, where people are actually going and parking their money offshore. They're exchanging their currency and trading on the markets, and they're making a killing on it, basically betting and shorting the dollar. And so, I think that a lot of these people, they just have the amount of money that's necessary to go ahead and try and continue to create more wealth, and they're doing it on the backs of hardworking Americans.
Do you think that they're actually fleeing is an interesting phrasing, but do you think they're just increasing their portvortfolio?
That's exactly what they're doing, in my opinion.
Property?
And finding a way to save money on taxes.
100%.
Especially with the it's funny because
that's why I said Bermuda, though, by the way, because they literally have a 2% tax treaty, and there's things that people will go and buy, like insurance captives, and then they will do something in one of their businesses. They will file an insurance claim against it, pay themselves out. Insurance claims aren't taxed, and then they're basically just circumventing the system. So, this is where the idea of needing 87,000 deep state police added into our system with the $600,000 in small caliber ammunition isn't the fix. It's actually fixing the loopholes and making sure that we hold those accountable who are actually trying to do these things.
I think the moneyed liberal types, and look, the Democratic Party has become the party of the wealthy. Vox.com said this, not Fox, Vox, V-O-X, said in 2016 the Democrats had become the party of the wealthy. They've become whiter and wealthier over the past several elections, which is funny. And the Republican Party is becoming more diverse and more working class. So of course, these are people who are like, well, with Joe Biden making these moves to raise taxes and stuff, I got to do what I got to do, And what I see with Joe Biden's move and the Democrats' move with the IRS, for instance, they're not going to go after the rich people.
No.
Because the rich people fight back. If the IRS sends a bill to a millionaire and says, you owe us X, he'll be like, he'll get in the call to his law firm and say, hey, handle this for me. And they'll be like, you got it. And then the IRS has got to deal with it. And they're like, we're going to lose money in man hours. Send the bill for $500 to that working class Joe who can't afford to fight back.
That's right.
Do that to 10,000 working class Joes, and we're going to make a pretty penny.
Yeah, and you will. You'll just pay the fine because you can't afford the attorneys. And we were just saying before we went live, this was the strategy of Mayor Bowser in Washington, D.C. as the city was struggling for revenue. She hired thousands more meter maids, we used to call them. And, you show up to your car, you're totally within your limits. You've obeyed all the signs, all the parking rules. You paid, but you have a $35 ticket, $50 ticket. And what are you going to do? You're going to take a day off of work to go stand before a judge for $50? No, you curse, you scream, you pay the $50. And she knows that's what you're going to do. Right. She doesn't care about truth or justice, and that's what these IRS agents are going to do. Maybe not, $50, but honestly, if I got a $500 IRS fine, I can't. That's my lawyer's fees would be more than that.
Exactly.
You're going to curse, you're going to scream, and you'll be like, "Damn it!" And here's the $500.
I remember one time I got 2 tickets in the mail that were final notice, $150, I think, was due. 2 of them, $300. And this was back when I was making like $10 an hour working at the airport in Chicago. And I was like, what did I get tickets for? Looked them up and it said I had illegally parked in Chicago months ago. Never got a ticket on my car.
Nope.
Never parked illegally. And when I called them and said, this must be a mistake, they said, well, you didn't respond to the first 2, so now it's too late. You have to pay. It's a final determination. And I said, I never got a ticket.
Doesn't matter. Prove to me you didn't get it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's very common. Prove that you didn't get it. Like that's fascinating. That's metaphysically impossible.
But this is the way it works, right?
Yeah.
It's guilty until proven innocent, not innocent until proven guilty, the way it was originally said.
Yeah, and it shows you. You just mentioned the California thing. It shows you what I think a lot of government and government bureaucrats, what they really think of their constituents, right?
Yeah,
like
piggy banks.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like we don't care about what this is bad for you, if this is inconvenient, if this is illegal, unconstitutional. We don't care that Tim didn't do this. We just need his damn money.
But I'll tell you, this is why, when I talk to my more moderate liberal types friends, and they tell me they're in favor of defunding the police, this is exactly why.
Yeah.
So I was talking to a friend of mine who lives in like a well-off suburban area. And I was like, why would you want to defund the police? You live in the suburbs. That's like where the cops are good. And she said, it's because we all keep getting pulled over and we don't do anything wrong. And they tell us to go to court over it and we can't. And we're all like, everyone's been talking about it. We're pissed. And then I was like, well, I get it. I completely get it. If you're seeing something in your community like quota systems or something, then you're going to be like, don't know, don't care. But I tell you this, the funny repercussion of that is going to be, you may be upset they're milking money out of you, but you get rid of the police and then see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're seeing right now, which is increased criminality. I mean,
Right.
that's exactly what's
Through the
going on.
roof.
Lawlessness.
Insane.
And then you have the Democrats' soft on crime policies. You have these catch and release policies, these no bail policies. And you're seeing an increase. And now people are terrorized to go out in areas that are Democrat controlled, like Seattle and New York, et cetera.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.